College athletics as we know it now is at a massive turning point. We're asking 16-year-olds not just to make a 4-year commitment, but a 40-year commitment. Your education as a student athlete for 99% of all athletes is the most important thing you can get out of the student athlete experience, albeit the 1% that go on to make it in the NFL or the NBA and make millions. And at the center of all of this is the transfer portal. Teammates are turning against teammates and coaches are leaving programs and bringing whole teams along with them, leaving the prior one absolutely devastated. In the sport of swimming, we've seen a massive rise in the amount of transfers that are occurring in the NCAA, and I'll go over all the implications with NIL in just a second. But let's rewind a little bit and figure out how we got here. With the rise of the transfer portal, we've been able to see a statistical breakdown on early high school commits leaving and transferring elsewhere in their time in college. There's no limit to the amount of transfers they can do, and it's just a at the end of the day. All of this was sparked in my mind earlier this month when legendary NFL player and college football coach Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, completely transformed Colorado's football program overnight with the help of the transfer portal. Coach Prime completely brought in a majority of his Jackson State team and some of the top recruits in the nation to Colorado overnight, transforming a team that was last place in the Pac-12. I'm all for transforming college programs, but what Deion Sanders did was show all NCAA coaches and athletes that there is a serious flaw with the transfer portal. This is a signal to all university athletic departments across the NCAA that the transfer portal is here to stay and it has serious implications. And you might be thinking to yourself, this only applies to basketball, football, the big NIL sports, right? You're wrong. I was a college swimmer, and let me tell you how the impacts of the transfer portal could impact someone like myself in the sport of swimming. First off, let's look at recruiting. A college coach could spend years trying to get a high school recruit to come to their university, just for it to not work out. Now this college coach is stuck with 3 years of a scholarship that they don't have to give to any other swimmer at the moment. They were planning on investing it in that swimmer. This is all brought about by the ease of access for athletes to the transfer portal and to just pick up and go somewhere else that can give them more money, more scholarship, or whatever it might be. This years of planning that this college coach had written out for this high school recruit that they chose years ago is all thrown out the door. The second issue that the transfer portal has brought about is the instability in college athletics. With top talent able to enter the transfer portal and go to a numerous amount of colleges, it's become very hard for coaches to retain top talent. This also in turn creates a massive disparity for the rest of the other teams in the NCAA who aren't able to attract such talent with lucrative NIL deals or scholarships. Finally, it destroys the player-to-player and player-to-coach relationship. The fact that teammates are able to just jump in the transfer portal and overnight break years of a relationship that you spent years building really doesn't create great internal team dynamics and definitely leads to a lot of problems. But if we want to figure out why the transfer portal has become so big now, we have to rewind a couple of years and look back at all the big changes that the NCAA made over the past couple of years. Now you might be thinking, Kyle, the transfer portal's always existed. What's wrong with it now? Well, in recent years, the NCAA has passed some massive legislation that has seriously benefited athletes, but completely torn apart teams. Let me explain. In prior years, if you wanted to transfer from a school to another school that was in the same conference, you had to sit out a year, no exceptions. Additionally, you might also be forced to sit out another year, even if you didn't transfer within conference. If you transferred out of conference, if your coaches didn't sign the form to release you. And this happened plenty of times in college basketball, football, volleyball, you name it. However, this was all stripped down in June of 2018 when the NCAA passed legislation allowing their athletes to not get waivers signed by their coaches and automatically releasing them into the transfer portal. Additionally, in April of 2021, the NCAA passed additional legislation that allowed athletes to transfer in conference and immediately start playing. No year of sitting out. An immediate impact could be made on your new team. So it's easy to see how the pieces start falling apart here. All right, so how do we even get here? Well, it started off with the COVID fifth years. You see, when COVID came down upon the NCAA in March of 2020, it impacted my swimming season. That year, they cut the NCAA championships, a meet that we were arguably supposed to win. We were in contention to win an NCAA title, and we were stripped of that. And those seniors that were on that team never got a chance to go compete for that NCAA title. However, despite many of the seniors from that year's cries for an extra year of eligibility, the NCAA denied it to them. And then a couple weeks later, they turned around and said, oh, everyone else that was on that team, freshman to junior, you guys get an extra year of eligibility too. And so does the incoming class of high school seniors who also was impacted by that 2020 to 2021 year that would follow. It doesn't make sense. Due to this, many athletes that were in my shoes tried to speed up their graduation and graduate in 3 years and do a 2-year master's at another school or the same school, or they would try and do a 4-in-1 combo. Typically, your average college swim team would have around 25 to 30 guys. With the addition of the COVID fifth years though, that brought the number up on my team to 38 swimmers. Not only was there additional coaching attention taken away from athletes like myself and others around me, but in addition to this, it messed up the scholarship dollars. On one hand, you would point to those extra 8 swimmers that were on the team and say, hey, they took away time, they took away resources from you that could have been invested into the coach. But on the other hand, and the main problem was, they took away scholarship dollars. And this is how it directly relates back to the transfer portal. With the extension of the NCAA athlete's life cycle, these 4th and 5th year transfers that came into the university are now taking away scholarships from athletes that were already at the program or high school recruits that were intending to go to the program. And this is the big problem with the transfer portal, the money. Instead of giving those scholarship dollars from the 4th years that now turned into 5th years to a big high school recruit that the university really wanted to go after, nope, university is honoring it and rolling over the scholarship into the 5th year for all of those athletes. Now, where does this all end? Because at some point, these COVID athletes will become irrelevant and it will not become a thing in the NCAA anymore. Well, it should end with the high school class of 2020 that was then on the 2020 to 2021 teams, because their 5th year should end in the graduation year of 2025. However, instead of focusing on those COVID 5th year transfers, the bigger problem really comes down to the transfer portal. Here are my 3 solutions to fix the NCAA transfer portal. Rule number 1, limit all NCAA athletes to 1 transfer. Now this might seem harsh, but I've already made a couple exceptions to this rule. The first being, if your coach leaves the university you are currently playing at, you're automatically allowed to enter the transfer portal. The second exception to this rule being that if you already used your first transfer and that you're at this new school, something really well doesn't work out, be it academics, a relationship with a coach, a relationship with a teammate, an NCAA Board of Appeals is allowed to appeal your decision and will determine if you're able to enter the transfer portal or not. Which brings me to my second point, an NCAA Board of Eligibility that determines whether athletes that have already made this one allowed transfer are able to transfer again. Now I know this might sound harsh, but however, given the current state of the NCAA and the NIL rules that are in place, the NCAA athletics has just become a money grab. Players are allowed to bounce around from university to university just because some donor is going to give them some big NIL deal. Well, that would be shut down by the NCAA committee. Hopefully, that is what the goal of this committee, in my mind, should do. The second thing that this committee should look for is if athletes are looking to further their education, not transfer for athletics, but they're pursuing some form of higher education, higher than a bachelor's degree. The only possibility for this is a master's degree of some kind, a PhD, or continuing education that is above a bachelor's degree. This committee is the end-all, be-all of if you're able to transfer or not. If you don't make the appeal successful, you're not able to transfer. My third and final solution for the NCAA to fix the transfer portal is to bring back the 1-year rule where you have to sit out and these athletes have to burn a year of eligibility. That is for all in-conference and out-of-conference transfers. Now, the exceptions to this are not for first-time transfers. You're allowed to move without facing these penalties. And number 2 is for coaching changes, as I've already mentioned earlier. If athletes had to sit out an extra year and burn a year of eligibility, it would seriously de-incentivize athletes from jumping around from university to university just for cash grab, NIL deals, or whatever the reason they want it to be, whether they want to win a national title year after year after year, I don't know. I seriously think, though, that these 3 rules would completely transform the way that we see the transfer portal today. The NCAA is still not the well-oiled machine that it once was. It is seriously doing everything to keep these athletes within their grasp and not take other professional opportunities like the overtime basketball league or swimmers just deciding to go pro like Michael Phelps or Michael Andrew. Now, I also want to clarify, I myself and plenty of my friends have been direct impacts and beneficiaries of this COVID fifth year and the transfer portal. I mean, we won the national championship on the backs of our fifth years. No complaints at all from me. However, there's a larger systemic issue here going on in the NCAA. And the way the transfer portal is operating today, well, it's just chaos. Maybe I'm wrong. And if I am, let me know down below in the comments. If you guys like this type of content, make sure to subscribe to my channel, and that way I'll know to make more videos like this one. And with that, I'll see you all next week.